Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to be giving my fight predictions for UFC 316 Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley. Let's get into it. The first fight of the card, well I'm pretty sure it is Quillan Selkild versus Yanel Amouche. I'm pretty sure this will be the first fight of the night. And what a good way to start off. Both fighters are 8-1. Selkild has the height over Yanel, which, to be honest, it really won't make a difference. Selkild has a 7-inch reach advantage over Yanel, has a 4-inch leg reach over Yanel. Selkild had a great fight back in February against, was it Jubilee, the Indian fella, and knocked him out in the first 19 seconds. And that knockout was insane. I mean, it didn't really show much of Selkild. All we know is, goddamn, he got knockout power. With Yanel, he last fought in September 2024 on the Burns vs. Brady card against Trevor Peek. And he did win by a unanimous decision, but to be honest, not too much of a good win. Then in July 2023, he had his fight against Chris Duncan on the Aspinall vs. Tybura card, and he lost by unanimous decision, which, really ruins his reputation. And then his first fight in the UFC was against Sam Patterson. He won by KO in the first round, which was good for Yanel. But to be real, I do have Quillan Selkild here by a KO in the second round. I just think the reason because of this is, first, the knockout power on this fella, holy hell, he got knockout power for sure. And I just don't see Yanel Amouche really doing much. Quillan is the favourite of this fight. Yeah, I just see Quillan Selkild winning here by a KO in the second round. The next fight on the card we have is, Jika Suragi versus Ju Sang Yu. This fight is another sleeper fight. This is going to be a lot of fun. Jika has a record of 14-4, and Ju has a record of 8-0. The height, Jika is 5'8", and Ju is 5'9". Jika's most recent fight, was against Weston Wilson, and Weston submitted him in the first round, which, that was back in June 2024 on the Perez vs. Tyra card. And before then, he fought Lucas Alexander and did knock him out in the first round back in November 2023 on the Allen vs. Craig card. Will Ju... Hold up. Yeah, Ju's first UFC fight. This is Ju's first UFC fight. He's fought in other organisations like ZFN, AFC, Brave, and his last fight was on ZFN against Masutu Kawana, and knocked him out in the first round before he fought Ronaldo Exon and won by unanimous decision. But for who I got, I think I'm going to go Ju Sang Yu by KO in the second round. I just think Jika's last performance really just fucked him over. And I just think Ju has that knockout power to really put it on Jika. And Ju is the favourite, so give me Ju Sang Yu by KO in the second round. The next fight on the card we have is Ariana Lipski versus Kong Wang, or Wang Kong. To be honest, this is another boring women's fight. Ariana's record is 17-10, and Kong's record is 7-1. They are the same height at 5'6". Ariana's last performance was against Jasmine Jasuda Vicious, and unfortunately lost by submission in the third round. This was on the Moreno vs. Albazi card, back in November 2024. Before then, she fought Karine Silva back in April 2024 on the Nicolau vs. Perez card, and lost to a unanimous decision. Her last win was against Casey O'Neill back in December 2023 on the UFC 296 Edwards vs. Covington card. So Ariana is 1-2 in her last 3 fights. Kong Wang's last fight was against Bruno Brazil back in February 2025 and won by unanimous decision on the 312 card, the Duplessis vs. Strickland 2 card. Before then, she fought Gabriela Fernandez in November 2024 on the Yan vs. Figueiredo card, and unfortunately lost by a sub in the second round. Before then, she fought Victoria Leonardo back in August 2024 on the Cannonier versus Braulio card, and won by KO in the first round. So she is 2-1 in her last 3 fights. So for who I think is going to pull off this victory, I think Kong is going to, however you say her name, I think she's going to pull it off. I just think she's on a streak at the moment. She's doing well. Yeah, 2-1 in the last 3 fights. Yeah, I think she'll. A streak. She only has one. She's on a 1 fight streak. That's not really even a streak. Anyway, yeah, I got I'm just gonna say Kong Wang by decision here. Next fight on the card, we have Markel Medeiros versus Mark Choinsky. Looking forward to this fight. Another banger. Markel is 5'10" and Mark is 5'8". Markel's record was 10-1 and Mark's record was 8-0. Markel's last fight was against Austin Hubbard in March 2025 and won by a split decision. This was on the Moreno versus Usyk card. And his first UFC fight was against Landon Quinzones and won by unanimous decision back in February 2024 on the Dolidze versus Amavov card. With Mark, his last fight was against John Ramirez on the Anthony Pettis event back in March 2025, and he won by a rear naked choke in the first round, and was the lightweight champion before on the Anthony Pettis organization. Before then, he fought John Simon and won by unanimous decision back in November 2024. With all this, I think Medeiros will win. I think the pressure will be too much for Choinsky, so I do have Markel Medeiros by a KO in the second round. I just think the pressure will be a little bit too much for Mark, and yeah, I just have Markel Medeiros to win this. Next fight on the card we have is Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. I see this fight ending quite quickly in my eyes. I don't see this going the distance. Chaos Williams' height is 6 foot, and Andreas' height is 6'1". Not much difference. Chaos' record is 15-4, and Andreas' record is 11-2. Chaos' last fight was against Gabriel Bonfirm back in February 2025 on the Cannonier versus Rodriguez card, and unfortunately he did lose that by submission in the second round. But Bonfirm is a hard opponent to beat. Before then, he fought Carlston Harris back in May 2024 on the Barboza versus Murphy card and won that by KO in the first round. Then with Andreas, his last fight was against Pat Piltuk on the Contender Series and won by using his knees in the second round. Before then, he fought on FCR against Dominic Schuber and won by a KO in the first round. Now with this fight, I think I might lean towards Chaos Williams just because he had the tougher opponents and has fought in larger crowds than Andreas. But I could see Andreas knocking him out because he has that knockout power, even though he's only been fighting journeymen, let's be honest. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Chaos Williams here by knockout in the first round. Next fight on the card, we have Sergey Spivak versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. What a good heavyweight scrap. Again, I don't see this going the distance. Sergey's height is 6'3" and Waldo's height is 6'4". Sergey's record is 17-5 and Waldo's record is 13-1. Sergey's last fight was against Jolton Almeida, which was on the Makhachev versus Moicano card back in January 2025. And well, he did lose that fight by KO in the first round, which kind of sucked for him. Before then, he main evented with Marcin Tybura back in August 2024 and won by submission in the first round, which is surprising by how Tybura is going at the moment. Before then, he fought Cyril Gane back in September 2023 and lost by KO in the second round. And then he also main evented that card as well. Now with Waldo, his last fight was against Ryan Spann back in March 2025 on the Vittori versus Dolidze 2 card and knocked Spann out in the second round. Before then, he fought Rebellis Despain and won by unanimous decision. Which, come on, man. Like, Rebellis Despain, he wasn't in his prime and he went to a decision with him. It's not good. And that was back in May 2024. And that was on the Lewis versus Nascimento card. But yeah, to be honest, I do have Sergey Spivak I just think he's had the tougher challenges. I mean, he's fought Cyril Gane, Marcin Tybura, Jolton Almeida, and Walter Cortez Ortiz. His only fought, well, his last two fights was Ryan Spann and Rebellis Spain. So you kind of see a little bit of a difference there. Yeah, I just think he's had the tougher challenges, and I think he's a great submission artist. So I'm going to go with Sergey Spivak by submission. I'm going to say the second round. Next fight on the card, we have Azamat Murzakanov versus Brenderson Ribeiro. This sucks because it was supposed to be Azamat versus Johnny Walker, but Johnny Walker withdrew, which sucks. Anyway, I think this will be a good scrap. Azamat's height is 5'10", and Brenderson's height is 6'3". Azamat's record is 14-0, and Brenderson's is 17-7. Azamat's last performance was against Alonzo Menafield back in April 2024, and won that by KO in the second round. This was on the Sanhagen versus Nurmagomedov card. Before then, he fought Justin Jacoby back in April 2023 and won that by unanimous decision. This was on the Holloway versus Allen card. Brenderson's last performance was against Daya Nushage back in May 2025 and won by submission. This was also on the Vittori versus Dolidze 2 card. Before then, he fought Caio Machado and won by a split decision. This was back in November 2024 on the Moreno versus Albazi card. And yeah, I mean, I think Azamat is doing extremely well. His last 5 fights, he's 5-0, and Brenderson's last 5 fights, he's 3-2. Azamat is the favourite, and Brenderson literally was a late minute replacement because Johnny Walker got out of the fight. And yeah, to be honest, I have Azamat Murzakanov. I'm gonna say KO in the first round. Next fight on the card we have is Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van. What a banger for the feature prelim fight. Bruno Silva is 5'4", and Joshua Van is 5'5". Bruno's record is 14-6, and Joshua's record is 13-2. Bruno's last fight was against Manel Cap in December 2024 and lost terribly by KO in the third round. This was on the Covington versus Buckley card. Before then, he fought Cody Durden back in July 2024 and won that by KO in the second round. This was on the Lemos versus Jandiroba card. Joshua's last performance was against Ray Tesoro and won by unanimous decision. This was on the Pereira versus Ankalaev card. Before then, he fought Cody Durden again and won by unanimous decision. This was on the Pantoja versus Asakura card back in December 2024. And yeah, I mean, this is actually a tough fight. I think a lot of people are underestimating Bruno Silva because I see people, they're going for Joshua Van, which, good on them. Bruno Silva, he is the underdog. And, I mean, both of them, the last 2 fights is 4-1. But for me, I think I'm going to go with Joshua Van here by decision. I just think he has that momentum at the moment. And after, well, unfortunately, Bruno Silva's last performance and got knocked out by Manel Cap. Yeah, it's just, I think he's going to be a little bit too scared to really approach Joshua Van, if that makes sense. Because he has that knockout, and, well, now we know that, yeah. So, yeah, Joshua Van by a decision here. Next fight on the card we have is Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. Very excited to have this fight on the card. Vicente Luque is 5'11", and Kevin's height is 6'3". Vicente's record is 23-10, and Kevin's record is 27-13. Vicente's last fight was against Themba Gorimbo, and won this fight by submission in the first round. This is on the Pantoja versus Asakura card. Before then, he fought Buckley and got knocked out in the second round. This was on the Blanchfield versus Fiorot card back in March 2024. Kevin's last fight was against Gunnar Nelson and won that fight by a unanimous decision. This was on the Edwards versus Brady card back in March 2025. Before then, he fought RDR, Rene DeRuda, and lost that fight by submission in the first round. This was on the Makachev versus Moicano card. But yeah, for who I'm going to say will win, and I hate saying it because if I don't pick him, he wins, and if I pick him, he loses. So it's a bloody lose-lose situation here. I think because of his last performance on how surprised I was, I think I'm going to go with Kevin Holland here. I think Kevin Holland has a much better striking than Vicente Luque. If it goes to the ground, it could be 50. It could be a toss-up. I do think Luque has a better ground game than Kevin Holland, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna go with Kevin Holland here by KO in the second round. Unfortunately, I would love Vicente Luque to win this, but yeah, I got Kevin Holland by knockout in the second round. Next fight on the card we have is Mario Batista versus Patchy Mix. This is a very interesting matchup in my eyes. This was supposed to be Mario versus Marlon Vera, but Marlon got injured, so we got Patchy Mix, which is very exciting. Anyway, Mario's height is 5'9", Patchy's height is 5'11". Mario's record is 15-2, and Patchy's record is 20-1. Mario's last performance was against Jose Aldo on the Pereira versus Roundtree card, and Mario beat Aldo by a split decision back in October 2024. Before then, he fought Ricky Simone and won that fight by unanimous decision. With Patchy Mix, his last performance was against Karat Akhmetov on the ADXC and won that by unanimous decision. Before then, he had his career in Bellator. His last performance in Bellator was against Magomedov and won that fight by a split decision. And he was he a lightweight or a bantamweight? I forgot what he was in Bellator, but he was a champion in Bellator, so that's a lot of respect there. But yeah, who I think is going to win this fight? I'm gonna go with Patchy Mix here. I think he's gonna win by decision. I just think his wrestling is way better than Batista. His striking is really good as well. And yeah, he is the favorite, and I think he is gonna win. And yeah, let's just get this Mario Batista bitch out of this fucking ranking. Yeah, I'm still salty about that Jose Aldo win. Anyway, yeah, Patchy Mix by decision here. Next fight on the card we have is Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Well, this fight was supposed to happen on the Moreno versus Usyk card, but didn't happen. So here we are now. Kelvin's height is 5'9", Joe's height is 6'2". Kelvin's record is 20-9, and Joe's record is 13-3. Kelvin's last performance was against Daniel Rodriguez and won that by unanimous decision back in June 2024, which was on the Whittaker versus Alaskarov card. Before then, he fought Sean Brady and lost by a submission in the third round. This was on the Dariush versus Sharukian card back in December 2023. Joe's last performance was against Marc-Andre Barriault and won that fight by KO in the first round back in June 2024 on the Pereira versus Prohaska card. Before then, he fought Jack Hermanson and won that by unanimous decision. This was the main event and was held back in February 2024. But overall, I think I'm going to go with Joe the Bodybag Pyfer here. Do I think he's going to KO him? I mean, he has that KO potential. This is like, I know the winner, but I just don't know how he's going to win because Kelvin Gastelum has never been knocked out. If Joe's the first one to knock him out, that's insane. Do you know what? Let's fucking do it. I'm going to go with Joe the Bodybag Pyfer here by KO in the second round. Why not? I know Kelvin Gastelum, he has that chin. He can't really get knocked out. I could see Joe Pyfer doing it. I could see him, but if he doesn't, it'll be an unanimous decision win. Now for the co-main event. We have Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison for the UFC Bantamweight Champion. What a great fight. Oh my god, I'm so excited. No, I'm not. Anyway, Juliana's height is 5'6", and Kayla's 5'8". Juliana's record was 13-5, and Kayla's record was 18-1. Julia's last performance was against Raquel Pennington and won by a split decision. This was back in October 2024 on the Pereira versus Roundtree junior card. Before then, she fought Amanda Nunes and lost by unanimous decision. This was the main event back in July 2022. Now with Kayla Harrison, her last performance was against Ketlin Vera and won by a unanimous decision. This was on the Pereira versus Roundtree junior card back in October 2024. Before then, she had her UFC debut at UFC 300 against Holly Holm, and Kayla won by a submission in the second round. This event was held back in April 2024, and the main event was Pereira versus Hill. But for who I think's going to win this bantamweight champion. Yeah, let's go with the man, Kayla Harrison. I think she's going to win by decision. I think her wrestling is a little bit better than Juliana Pena. Juliana's last performance was against Raquel Pennington. It was alright. I wouldn't say it was anything special, but it was alright. I really enjoyed Kayla's performance against Caitlin Vera. I think she did really well against her and good with Holly Holm. But Juliana Pena, she has fought Amanda Nunes twice, so that could help her. But yeah, let's just go with Kayla Harrison. We let's get a title change in this event. Let's boost some engagement in this event. Now for the main event, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Now, I don't think anyone wanted this match, let's be honest. We were after like a Merab Dvalishvili versus a Alexandre Pantoja, or a Merab Dvalishvili versus a Peter Yan, or a Merab Dvalishvili versus who the hell could he fight? I don't know, maybe like a Corey Sandhagen, maybe. But he probably had to win against Figueiredo. Anyway, we didn't really want this fight because, I mean, the first one was fine. I don't really want a second one, but here we are. Anyway, Merab's height is 5'6", and Sean's height is 5'11". Merab's record was 19-4, and Sean's record was 18-2. Merab's last performance was against Umar Nurmagomedov, and won that by unanimous decision, which was insane, by the way. Because I went for Umar, but I didn't know how good Merab was. Now I do, so fuck. And yeah, this was on the Makhachev vs. Moicano card. Before then, he fought Sean O'Malley in the Sphere and won that by unanimous decision back in September 2024. Sean O'Malley's last fight was against Merab Dvalishvili and lost by unanimous decision back in September 2024. Before then, he fought Marlon Vera and won that by unanimous decision. And that was on, when was it? Was it March or April? Or was it May? It was something around there of 2024. But yeah, like, I wasn't, let's be honest, we weren't really wanting this fight. I mean, yeah, Sean O'Malley has a big name. Merab Dvalishvili now has a big name. I like them, but it should have been like Sean O'Malley versus like a Peter Yan and a Merab Dvalishvili versus an Alexandre Pantoja. That would have made a lot more sense. But here we are. Anyway, for who I think is going to win this fight and will win the Bantamweight champion, I think, and still, Bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili by decision. I think Merab will beat Sean O'Malley again. I think it might be the same as the first fight, maybe a little bit different because, well, Sean O'Malley has that he's increased his grappling skills. But I think Merab will be a way better grappler, of course. And yeah, I mean, Sean will have the striking, Merab will have the wrestling. And yeah, I just think Merab will just, do what he did in the first fight.
And yeah, like, this fight, it's going to be so much fun. And I think the first fight was more close than what people thought it was. And I think this is what's going to happen here. I think Merab will probably have Sean on the wrestling side. And I think that's the way that Merab will beat Sean. I would love Sean to become the new Bantamweight champion because, I mean, he's a big name. But at the end of the day, I just think Merab's wrestling is... I mean, let's be honest, we haven't really seen Sean's wrestling. So I'm not trying to hate on him for that. But I'm just saying from what I've seen, Merab Dvalishvili's wrestling is bloody chef's kiss. Some of the best wrestling I've ever seen. I'm kind of like I'm dick sucking him, but I'm being honest here. And I think if Sean would win, I think it would be a TKO win for him, just because his striking is a little bit more better than Merab Dvalishvili, let's be honest. And yeah, I have Merab here. I would love him to retain this title, and I don't think Sean's going to get battered or anything. I don't think it's going to be like one of those fights. I think it's going to be another very, very, very close decision, maybe even a possibly split decision fight, split decision win for Merab Dvalishvili. But yeah, it's just hard, this fight. Like, I know everyone's going, Merab's going to win this. Merab's going to win this. Like, come on, it's Merab. Like, he's going to win this. He's like the bantamweight GOAT. Yes, but if you really put it towards, let's just say another fight. Aljo versus O'Malley. Everyone was going Aljo. No one was going O'Malley. What happened in that fight? O'Malley knocked him, TKO'd him. I forgot what round it was, but he TKO'd him early in the fight. And you never know, it could happen again. It could happen again, which I don't think it's likely, but it could definitely happen again. And yeah, but I do have Merab Dvalishvili by decision here. And that is it. Thank you for watching my UFC 316 predictions. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel. Be a massive help. Thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.